You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, my friends, we are looking so forward to tonight's program. We're going to have a lot of people coming in as the weather's starting to get more cool. More and more people are coming indoors and they're listening to the Six Screens. So don't go anywhere. Stay with us tonight. We got some big stories. The witnesses are going back in service. Door-to-door service started just a couple of days ago. And wait till you hear about a new manual that Jehovah's Witnesses have on shunning and disfellowshipping. 887 pages. Man, it's unbelievable, but I'm going to deal with that tonight, right here on JW World News. Well, there you have it, and my friends, I'm excited. I'm excited. I tell you that every Saturday night, but I mean it. This is my favorite night of the week. I look so forward to coming in and talking to all of you people that have been touched by the tentacles of the Watchtower. Well, my name is Rick Fearon. I'm coming to you from the hub of the universe, or as we call it, the apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. So we're so glad that you can join us. And you know something? We're getting more and more people coming in, and they've been listening in. Now, last week we had 4 new ones. The week before that, we had 5 new ones. So, I mean, isn't that something to be happy about? I mean, that's why we do this. What we're trying to do is get people out of the organization, and it's working. And I put a shout out to everybody that's doing YouTube and doing protesting, anything at all. If you're fighting against the Watchtower, you're an ally of mine. I don't care who you are. We appreciate everything you do. So anyways, let me just say this to you guys tonight. I know a lot of people, they get nervous about coming into the Six Screens. And I would have been nervous too when I was first leaving the organization. I would have been very nervous to speak up, but I have a voice changer here. It's a very sophisticated voice changer. And if you want to come on tonight and you don't want anyone to recognize your voice, I'll guarantee they will not recognize your voice. They'll have no idea who it is. If you're a woman, listen to this. I've got 25 different voices I can use to put you on. So let me just give you a little test here. Just give me a second. Hello, this is not Rick Fearon. I can put an echo on, but you got the idea. But if you're a man, you want to sound like a woman, I can do that. If you're a woman, you want to sound like a baby, I can do that. So, anyways, let me know if you want to use the voice changer tonight. Well, you know, friends, I look over the internet all week long. I try to come up with the top stories that are going on behind the curtain. And I have to tell you, sometimes I'm thinking, well, there's not too much news this week. But every week I think that until I get in looking at all the news about the Watchtower. Now, let me tell you something about the Watchtower organization. They are hemorrhaging. If you're listening in here the first night, you're saying, geez, Rick, you must be looking through rose-colored glasses. I'm not, but I'm going to tell you what. They are hemorrhaging big time. More and more people are leaving the Watchtower. And the reason why they're leaving the Watchtower is, well, there's a number of reasons. But the number one reason people leave the Watchtower organization, no love. There is no love. People are treated like dirt in that organization. That's the number one reason. What do you think the number 2 reason is why people leave the Watchtower? I think you're thinking theological events. No, it's not that. They don't really get into theology, and people don't leave because of theological twisting. People are leaving the Watchtower for finding out about child molestation, finding out about all of the lies that they've been telling, false prophecies. People have had enough of it. So they're leaving for those reasons as well. Well, I'll tell you what, I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses aren't happy today. Well, this was the first Saturday in September. It's September 3rd. But on September 1st, the Watchtower said, hey, let's start service again. Let's start going door to door. I know a lot of witnesses are not happy because of this, and you're probably even one of them. But I got an article here out of a newspaper in Silver Springs, Maryland. And boy, I'll tell you what, I talk about these puff pieces. And the Watchtower puts their lobbyist out, including Hendricks, Robert Hendricks. We talk about him a lot, but he's the chief lobbyist. He's a lawyer for the Watchtower. And what they do is they go into these small towns, but Silver Springs isn't it's not like Podunk, Iowa. It's a pretty good size city. I know it myself in Maryland. So anyways, but the Watchtower goes in with their lobbying people, and they coerce, and in many cases they're paying the newspaper to write a story. So I came across this story, and it's entitled in the newspaper, Jehovah's Witnesses return to door knocking and like getting back on a bicycle. I said, that's a strange headline for a newspaper. But you guys remember when you're little, and once you learn to ride a bike, you never forget, right? So the Watchtower's kind of relying on the fact that when the witnesses go back to door, even though it's been 3 years, just about 3 years since they've been knocking on doors, the Watchtower's banking on the fact that it's like a kid riding a bicycle, no problem. They're going to go out, no problem. They'll pick it right up. Not so fast. A lot of, I'm going to tell you something. When you're not out talking to people, when you're not out talking to people, something that happens is very interesting in the world of sales or in the world of communicating with people. If you don't do it for a while and you become like a recluse, you're going to have trouble doing it. And that's exactly what's going on with the witnesses. They're having a hard time getting their engines revved up to go out in service. Well, let me just read you. But if you're listening in on Facebook, let me just do something here right now. I guess I'm going to put some things up that I think you might want to watch and see. So just kind of hang in here for a second. I'm going to put you up some pictures right from the newspaper, and you're going to find it very, very fascinating. So let me put those pictures up for you right now, and you tell me what you think. Now, these pictures, these are actually taken this week of Jehovah's Witnesses out in the door-to-door work. So I believe you can see that picture. Can you guys see that picture on the screen? Okay, so we've got Jehovah's Witnesses here knocking on doors. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, you'll see it. If you're on our radio network, you'll also, if you're on a 6 Screens Video Suite, you're seeing it too. So there they are. There's a couple. Oh, there they are. Now, the man's got a suit on. The woman's got a suit on too, a skirt suit. She looks good. Now, you haven't seen witnesses for a while. Now, it's been like 3 years. So the people who live in homes and apartments, they had a little bit of a reprieve. The witnesses weren't coming to the door, but now they're coming back, and they're coming in full force. And take a look at this. Oh, my goodness. There's a picture out of Silver Springs, Maryland, and you can see them going down. Does that bring back memories? Some people are probably having anxiety and panic attacks just looking at that. But look at them there now. I'm noticing here, and you might notice too now, there is at least one witness in that picture that's wearing a mask. Now, how awkward is that? Would you like to go door to door wearing a mask? And what do you think about the householders? Would they like to open the door to someone wearing a mask? They don't know who it would be. It could be an axe murderer. They have no idea who it would be. But there you go. I'll tell you, that's bringing, I'm getting anxiety just looking at that picture. That picture, that's a terrible picture. That man, he's out in service. That man in the front, he doesn't look too happy. He looks like he's just going through the motions. I think he's just doing that in a perfunctory way. But now here's the picture here that really got me. I'm going to show you a picture. This picture here, I tell you, this is not a real picture. Well, there they are. Someone wanted to take a picture of them. That was the newspaper. And they wanted to take a picture of the witnesses all together. And there they all are. Look at that. Oh, my goodness. And they're all putting on that smile like this is the greatest thing. Now, the only one that looks like he's not enjoying is that man again to the far left with the sunglasses on. He's got a grumpy looking face, but everyone else is smiling. Boy, I'll tell you what, really, that's bringing back memories. And maybe for you guys too. I am so glad that Satan kicked me out of his organization. Seriously, I would not want to be out there doing that this weekend. So anyways, I'm going to read you a little more, and I'm going to show you how puffy and how exaggerated this whole thing gets. Well, let me just get back into my SoundCloud here. I mean, my StreamYard. And let me just get back so you guys can see me doing the news here. All right, I think I'm back now. So here's what I got. Let me get in. Let me just read some of the news article out of that newspaper. I'm not going to read it all to you. I certainly don't want to bore you to death. But it says that like other Jehovah's Witnesses, they're happy to get out in the door-to-door traditional knocking work, as they call it. They've been letter writing and they've been phone calling people in the territory, not going door to door because of COVID, but now they're back. They're back in full force. And notice some of the crazy things they say. For almost 2.5 years, this one sister was telling of her experience. And she says she's hit the pavement again, joining her husband. And that's in Silver Springs, Maryland. And they went out on Thursday. Man, they got out on September 1st. So maybe a lot of witnesses even hit the street then. And that was the first day of knocking door to door. Now, do you like seeing people's faces? The newspaper asked the witness, this woman. And she says, well, you never know who's going to be behind the door. I mean, you don't know. So sometimes you would talk to people and they would be happy. But sometimes, people would slam the door on you. So the whole article here, it goes into what the witnesses are finding. What the newspaper wanted to know is, what's it like after 2.5 years of going back into the ministry work? Is it awkward? Well, everyone was saying it's not too bad. They said that they were looking forward to it. I don't know if I can believe that. And maybe you guys can't either, but in the paper, you got to make it sound good, right? You got to build it up. And the witnesses, I'm sure this was a paid advertisement. I really, really do think that. So they said they went to one door, but the woman who answered the door, they call them the householder, she wasn't really too happy with the witnesses knocking on her door. She said that the woman had 2 little hungry little girls. And, she was interrupting their lunch break. See, this is what happens when you're Jehovah's Witness. And if you were one, most people listening in this program were. Well, when we were one of Jehovah's Witnesses, we really were uninvited guests, right? So you never know. You knock on a door, you could be waking a person up. In this particular case, the young mother, she's trying to feed her kids. So she got aggravated. So the witness here is saying that, they kind of knocked on the wrong door there. But, you're taking this, it's like a roll of the dice. You don't know who you're going to be calling on. And then they said they also called on another person here. And, well, they were given a whole lot of tongue. That's what the article says. I mean, I would call that probably cursing, maybe. I mean, we've heard that out in service. And also, they said in the neighborhood, you could act. Now, listen to this. In the neighborhood, you could actually hear people slamming doors. That doesn't sound too good. That doesn't sound too good. I mean, I don't even remember that happening when I was going out door to door. If you're hearing people slamming, well, when a person slams a door, did you ever have your wife mad at you? Not my new wife, but did you ever have your wife mad at you? What's the first thing she does? She slams a door. So this is exactly what goes on when you're going out there and aggravating people. They're slamming doors on you. So, I'm not going to get to the whole article here, but let it go with that. But I'm just curious. Is there anybody out there listening in to the 6 screens tonight? Is there anybody out there that went out in service today? I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you something. I'm going to give you something here tonight. Is there anybody out there, If you went out in service today, I got a fine gift for you. So why don't you call in? See if you can muster up the courage and call into the 6 screens tonight. Hit *6. We want to hear from you. I want to hear what it was like. Did you go out in service today? Now, don't be afraid. By all means, don't be afraid. You want to come on and talk? Well, even if you're not a new one. It looks like nobody's gone out in service today. You guys got no time in? No? All right. Well, anyways, has anyone, let's go to the next step. Has anybody talked to anybody that's been out in service today? Has anybody talked to anybody that's been out in service today? You want to come in? Yeah, go ahead. Well, let's go to the next step. How many people today saw people doing cart witnessing? That would be Jehovah's Witnesses. So, well, I have to say we saw some today in downtown Lowell. Hey, they're out. They're out in full force. As a matter of fact, we saw 2 different groups. There was a man and another man, a young man, an older man. And then there's also a couple of women at another place in Lowell. So they're out in full force, and they're going to go back out. Do you think it's going to be successful? I want you just to stop and think about it. The Watchtower, the Jehovah's Witnesses, boy, they're looking more and more like a cult every day of the week. They really do. Even today, when I was driving downtown Lowell, Massachusetts, I happened to see 2 people, an older man, a young man. It didn't look, if I walked by them or even drove by them, it would look like very much like a cult. It has that look of cult all over it. You know, a couple of people standing next to a cart with literature, and nobody's coming up to them. I wasn't there long enough to tell, but there were people walking by, but I didn't see anybody stop. And the reports I'm getting in here to the 6 screens, people aren't stopping. So, I just wanted to bring that up tonight. Aren't you glad, though? You guys are listening in tonight, and I know you're sitting there and you're gloating. I know you are, and you're saying, "Geez, I'm glad I didn't have to go out in service today." So, is there anybody out there that liked going out in service? And we've talked about this a number of times here in the 6 screens. But is there anybody out there that liked going out in service? It looks like we get Iowa on. Go ahead, Iowa. All right. Well, we do have some people in the green zone. So, if you guys want to speak up, now would be the time to do it. And we're so glad that you're listening in tonight. And we do have a number of people coming in from pretty much all across America and some coming in from around the world. All right. Well, let's move on. I thought you guys were going to get all excited about that. I thought you really were. But, geez, that story went over like a lead balloon. You're probably all having panic attacks just looking at some of those pictures. It really did bother me. But anyways, let me just make sure we do have sound here in the 6 screen video suite. Yeah, I see that's going good. I see everything's going good. The telephone lines are working. More and more people are coming in. If you're just coming in here tonight for the first time, I'm glad to have you come in and be with us. I really, really am. So anyways, let's take a look here. In fact, I've been getting word coming in here to the 6 screens. This is like a UPI reporting house. Every week I get people mail me information and I go over it all week. But you know what I've been getting a lot of? Now, we know the Kingdom Halls opened up a month ago. But all of a sudden, I have all these people giving me information that people aren't returning to the Kingdom Halls. In fact, some of the people, even people that are going, of course, they don't believe it anymore, the PIMOs, but they're saying that the Kingdom Hall is having an exodus. Many people leaving, they're not coming back either. So the attendance is definitely dropping. In some Kingdom Halls, according to the information I'm getting here in the 6 screens, some of the information I got, as much as 50% of the Kingdom Hall attendance is not there. But don't worry too much, I suppose, about it, because the elders are kind of comforting the witnesses and saying, well, there's many on Zoom. But let's face it, when you're on that Zoom meeting, you know what people do. They turn it on and they do their vacuuming, they go comb their hair, dye their hair, whatever they're going to do. And so, they're not watching the meeting. They're just going through the motions. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, but the other thing, I can't tell you how many people have given me this information. They're saying that the people in the Kingdom Halls, They're looking around. There's no young ones there. You know, you're looking, you might have some teeny boppers. You might have some, like tweens. But, anybody 16, 17 and up, they're out of there. So now they're saying it's really getting creepy. All of the people in the Kingdom Hall seem to be people in their 80s, their 60s, their 70s. And how long is that going to last? One time I thought that might be their only hope. I know you guys want to talk. Let me finish. I'm going to bring you right in. But I know that might be their only hope, I thought, was older ones. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
Hey, Rick.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Rick, it's Chris. I wanted to make a point about what you said about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
As far as how the witnesses, with the cart witnessing and how it demands almost no engagement. I remember back when I came in and got baptized, and I remember the scandals with the Catholic Church and Jimmy Swaggart.
They're out of there.
So, oh, go ahead.
I'll say with us, Chris, that was just a caller that was unmuted. Go ahead. You're still with us, Chris.
Okay. I just wanted to make the point that, even though looking back in retrospect, I didn't have the truth, but at the time I was young and naive enough that at least the witnesses encouraged us to go out and engage the public and knock on doors, because we could talk about Jimmy Swaggart and Jim Baker and the Catholic Church and just the basic hypocrisy in religion. And, if for some reason we got some, kickback at the door and someone was overly rude or whatever, we had the persecution complex. But I did want to make the point that right now the witnesses have no impetus or training on how to engage people about what they believe and why. They simply sit, at a storefront or a mall, whatever, and they just simply direct people to the organization at least. And I know you know this because you were in before me, but at least even in the dysfunction of it all, we still went out and engaged people. And when I remember the reasoning book being released, at least we were encouraged to engage people on the Trinity and hellfire and discrepancies in Christianity and things that have happened over the years. But right now, there is zero emphasis or impetus for the witnesses to engage people. All they do when they happen to get an interested person to ask a question, go back to the website. It's a completely different world. And I just wanted to make that point because it seemed like, in the 30 years that I look back when I came in, the whole psychological and emotional dynamic has changed, where at one time we were there to be bold, like in the days of Rutherford and Knorr and Franz in the 70s. Right now, they don't encourage anyone to be bold. They just encourage them to hope they find the low-hanging fruit that will go to the website, maybe start a study and not ask questions. So I just wanted to make that point.
Well, that's a good point. Now, that's a good point. And what I extracted from what you were saying is true. They're not trained. They are not trained. As a matter of fact, I approached the card a while back when they first started coming out a few years back. And it was downtown Lowell again, right near where I live. And there was two Spanish women. And I approached, they can hardly speak English, but all they were trying to do was direct me to the website. But you couldn't get into a conversation about the Trinity or any deep religious feelings or expressions. They go to jw.org. Good comment, Chris. Okay, you're on with us.
Hello.
Yeah, hold on. We'll go with Chewy. Then we got another fella coming in behind Chewy. Go ahead, Chewy, coming in from Oklahoma.
Hey, yeah, I was looking just out of curiosity. I was looking on their website, and on the JW website. They only have one magazine this year. The last year they got the announcement that the governing body has approved the publication of one new magazine and 2 reprints. Well, if you go on their website, they just have one, and that was at the beginning of the year. So they don't have any magazines to give to the householder. They're not prepared. They don't go to the meetings, and they don't have the presentations like they used to. They're dumbed down. And the stuff they get, it's purely mechanical. The brother's right. You know, my wife, which is still, she's softening up. I can see some definite mood changes in her. One of them was today. She was all fired up about going out in service, and she showed me a picture of them all out in the car. They all had their masks on and all that stuff, but there was not one bit of enthusiasm in her voice when she walked back in the house. She showed me that, but she wasn't jumping up and down. There was nothing in her voice that was enthusiastic at all about her experience that she had this morning. That's all I got.
Well, thank you, Chewy, for chewing ice. Thank you for sharing that with us. Really appreciate it. Go ahead. We had another caller. Go ahead. You're on with us.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, Kurt Hatfield. How you doing?
I'm doing good tonight, Kurt.
Good program. A quick comment on the preaching work. Maybe I'm wrong. I think the preaching work is outdated in the world we live in today. People in general don't want to have strangers knocking at the door. The opportunity that the Watchtower has, like these other organizations, from independent churches to the groups like the Adventist, they do their preaching on YouTube and I guess on the other parts of the internet. You can reach a lot more people. And I'm just thinking that the governing body probably looks at it, the preaching work, the door-to-door, as a way to hold the organization together as if they're doing something very special. I think it was special in the past when there wasn't too many other options, but the options today to reach the masses of people, are there for any group, especially a group as big as the Watchtower, to do it in other ways. JW.org, for example, and they're building this media center, but JW.org, if they wanted to preach to the world or with their doctrines and so on, they could do that from JW.org, in my opinion. So anyway, I just think it's a psychological way to keep the group, the Kingdom Hall people, individual members, more attached to the organization, is what I'm thinking. Door-to-door sales is very hard. Selling vacuum cleaners, I don't know if anybody out there is doing that anymore, maybe. You can get on the internet or whatever and order you a vacuum cleaner and get a demonstration video and what have you. So anyway, I thought I'd just bring that up, and thanks for taking my call.
Wow, always good to hear from you, Kurt. Always good. You got a very famous name there. I know the Hatfields, and I know the McCoys, and you were one of the Hatfields, right? Well, he's gone, but he was.
I had to. Yeah, thank you, Rick. I had to unmute myself there. Yeah. Yes, I am, and thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, I don't want, just one last note, I don't want to I'm searching for the word here, disrespectful, so to speak, in my own, of the Watchtower's efforts, of individuals' efforts. We've all put forth efforts in the past in the preaching work, and it's a serious work. But even the door-to-door preaching, I think in the New Testament we could argue that it was not really there. Paul with Ephesus, with the elders at Ephesus, taught them door-to-door. We won't have to get into all that. But, I just think it's psychologically, if you're part of the congregation and you're getting in a car and you're going out in the field service, it's more likely to keep you in the group, the congregation in general. Of course, it wouldn't necessarily work that way for me, but I guess it does with some people. But I think it's ineffective. You go out on a Saturday morning, you knock on 25 different doors, 22 of them, nobody answers. A lot of time and effort.
Oh, yeah.
But I just think there's better ways. Anyway, I'll shut up and let somebody else talk.
Well, no, I wanted to bring up that Hatfield thought, because I always get thinking, when you think of probably the biggest feud in American history, that would have been the Hatfield and the McCoys. But I think there's something that just bumped you out of first place, Kurt, and that would be Watchtower versus the apostates. That's been going on for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So thank you very much for chiming
in. Yeah, thank you, Rick.
Alrighty.
Thank
you.
We've
got some more callers coming in. Go ahead, you're on with us. You're in the green zone. I can see you lighting up that telephone line. Go ahead. Go ahead and speak up. Don't be bashful. Well,
Rick, I was thinking in the New York area, like you mentioned about people going out into service. Two thoughts I have on this, doesn't pertain to just New York, individually. But number one, people have the ring or whatever these security cameras are on. So basically, back in the day when we used to knock on the door and the joke was always people used to hide or, close the curtains. Now they see who it is. They see those two or one magazine or whatever's going on now. Why bother? Or just say, I'm not interested. You could be in your bedroom and be looking on your phone and see, it's at your front door. So that's number one. And number two is like being in New York City, like, in the Midtown area, it's just stunning. Like, I can only speak for New York City. A lot of the offices here are basically empty, because I'm just astonished at how empty the Rockefeller Center area is at lunchtime. So, and needless to say, guess who I saw a few weeks ago? Two separate tables side across from each other. Not on the busy side where the subway exit is, but on the other side. Guess who had their two tables set up there? So they know what they're doing, because, number one, they know where the subway exit is, but why do they always, they set up their table on the other side? And I saw this years ago. A couple of years ago, I saw about 3 or 4. I've worked in the Rockefeller Center area for like 30 years. But they know it's so tricky. Why don't you set your table up or hold your magazines up on the busy side of the subway exit instead of the non-busy side? Number one, do they not want to be bothered, or are they all pioneers just getting their hours in? But that sticks out in my mind. I worked in that area since 1978, and I noticed that. I noticed where they set up their tables at that particular. That's a busy. Now I know people working virtually or from home, but now even they've been back. It's just crazy. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing now, because people, that subway station is just virtually, even at lunchtime, empty. And they had the two tables across from each other. But not on the busy side. God forbid they put it there, but on the non-busy side. So I guess it's just pioneers standing on their own 2 feet, getting those hours in.
Well, Shirley, have you ever approached anyone at the cart? I'm just curious.
I'm sorry, say that again, Rick.
I says, have you approached anyone at these carts?
I have years ago, because like I said, I worked in that area since 1978, and there was way before the pandemic. There are like I said, it's a busy area. You can walk from like 47th Street to 52nd Street underground. There's a little underground network there with little, restaurants and what have you. But I remember, like I said, I worked there since 1978. These three sisters were standing at a subway stop where during the lunchtime hour, which I would say between 12 and 2, the subway, where you put in your token or Metro card or whatever, they shut down. There are gates closing those token entrances or Metro card entrances because it's not busy during the midday. That's where, and this was way before the pandemic, three sisters just about every day, standing there with the literature. I even walked up to them one day, and they give me this bullshit thing, pardon my French, but we're just whatever. I said, why aren't you standing back there, where the busy entrance is? I can't, because it was years ago, so I don't want to quote words in their mouth, but they know what they're doing. they know what they're doing.
Well, they do know what they're doing, and they're keeping busy, as Kurt just said. They're keeping people busy, and that's what you do.
Keeping people busy where there are no people, because the Rockefeller Center, even before the pandemic, they were standing, like I said, those token interests, whatever you want to call it, are shut off midday because they are not busy.
Yeah.
But that's where they were standing, so they know what they're doing. They're just getting in their time. That's
all they're doing. Well, Shirley, always good to hear from you, and thank you for calling in from the belly of the beast down there in New York City. Thank you, Shirley.
Okay.
Good girl. All right.
Yeah, Mr. Fearon?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call again. I've been listening here with interest, and if we follow, according to the information we got for many years, and according to stuff that I knew also, that we look back years and everything like that, the people were more ignorant. And the Watchtower Society was going door to door. They were peddling books, magazines, and everything like that. And I have to agree that they made a lot of success by doing that and so forth, but not the success that they should have. It was only minimal compared to what it should have, compared to all the work they did. Like, they have to spend, I think 10,000 hours just to get one member in the organization. This was years ago in the 20s and 30s, 40s and 50s, and I have to admit that according to statistics, they did get a lot of phenomenal increases in the 70s and 80s and everything like that, just because of their phony, baloney doctrines. Okay, now we come here to the next century right now. We're in the year of 2000 with advanced technology like we never knew before, and advanced technology like we still don't know what's coming up next. There's always something new. We've got cameras at the doors, has been mentioned earlier by other commentators, people making comments on it. And we got cameras at the doors, and they got security cameras. They can take their TVs and they can look, connect them to their security cameras, their internets, their iPhones, their Android phones, and everything. Every time somebody rings the doorbell, they can get a camera image of who's at the door there, and so forth. And I can guarantee 9 times out of 10, they're not going to open that door up if they see that it's a Watchtower individual there. Just like this other gentleman commented, he says, 23 out of the 25 knocks on the door, you're not going to get an answer. So I don't quite understand it and so forth, but they're really being foolish. They're going back, and they're continually trying to promote their policies of failure, and they're continually going, they don't have anything in terms of religious doctrine, and they're trying to promote nothing, but I think the old saying goes that nothing plus nothing equals nothing. And so it's going to be a total and absolute failure. I think that some of the people are going to be going a little out for just a little bit, but it won't be long before it falls right to the bottom again.
Hey, I'm with you. I like that nothing equals nothing, and that's exactly what they have nothing to offer, Ken. You're absolutely right. Well, what do they offer?
No, they don't have nothing to offer.
There's nothing to offer. Well, thank you, Ken, from the Northern Peninsula of Michigan. Thank you very much. Boy.
Okay, well, hey, let me,
go ahead, Gilbert.
Hey, this is
go ahead.
This is Gilbert calling. And Rick, I have to ask you, if you and I, we were in the congregation, do you have to go door to door? That's kind of the question. And if you're an elder or ministerial servant, are they requiring it? I don't know. But let's say that we're in the congregation. If I was in the congregation, and I'm noticing in the chat session that there's some PIMOs in there, and so there's some Jehovah's Witnesses that are physically and mentally out, and they have this dilemma. So what do you do? Well, this is why I'm here, to give you, the proper food at the proper time. If it were me and I was at the Kingdom Hall, and say my wife or my mom or dad were witnesses, and I had to go out in field service, I would make it very clear that I'm going out in field service knocking on doors by myself. And then I would say, callers for me are talking about how people with security, they say, no, you guys look like Jehovah's Witnesses. They're not going to want to open up the door, and I want people to open up the door when they see me. And I would probably take off my tie, but nonetheless, I would say, hi, my name is Gilbert, and I'm here to let you know that we give free water samples, and here's a price list of our reverse osmosis. Or I would say something like, hi, my name is Gilbert, and a friend of mine opened up a taco restaurant down the street, and here's the menu. And I would use that as an opportunity. And then I would say, oh, those people there, yeah, I'm not with them. I would deny being with those people. But yet I would have a conversation, and then the Jehovah's Witnesses would see me engaging in a conversation, and I feel good about myself. So, when you have lemons, you make lemonade. So for those of you PIMOs that are on the chat, those of you Jehovah's Witnesses that are tuning in, I'm helping you. We're helping you here.
Well, I know you're always trying to help you, but you have a unique way about doing business. I mean, you really, really do.
Yeah.
And I've got, after your broadcast, you had the testimony Sunday, but people really loved it. Good job, Gilbert. Good job.
Yeah,
I'll carry again.
Let's go.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it, Gilbert. Okay, go ahead, Joey.
Hey, along with what Gilbert said, there is, and this is for all the PIMOs that are out there listening to this, when that letter first came out that said that they were going to go back to door-to-door service, it did say on the back of it. It did. I got this off a YouTube video, and I read it too. That on the back of that letter, it said elders should not pressure members of the congregation or whatever, publishers, whatever they said, to what form of field service they would like to take. So if the elders are pressuring you to go out and field service, just don't refer to the letter because you don't want them to know that you know. But I'm just saying that that would be a good way to get out of going door to door. I don't feel comfortable with that. And they have read the letter, so they got to back off on that. So if any PIMOs want to take advantage of that information, it would probably help them from having to go out in service.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're listening in. So is that about it? We can some more want to speak up. You're on with us if you'd like to. So this is getting a big buzz. The witnesses going back out in service. And, hey, they're doing it, and they're at least saying they like it, but I think deep down they don't. But anyways, I want to let you know what's coming up here tonight. I got to really say this. Friends, we have got a program that comes on at 9 o'clock. You don't want to miss this program. Do you believe that the Watchtower is involved in the coming reset in the New World Order? Do you believe that? Have you heard about this? Now, Jimmy Bell, you know him. He's got a Facebook group. He's a great guy. He does a wonderful job, does his research. Well, he has a program coming on at 9 o'clock. It's called The Big Picture. And he's got a number of people coming in tonight that will be on with him. He's got his regular crew, but we might be hearing from Reese. We'll see. I don't know for sure, but we'll see. But Jimmy tonight's got some very interesting things. Tonight he wants to talk about the 16-year program. You say, well, what is that? I never heard of that. Well, he's going to be talking about it tonight, but I want you to listen. Even if you have to leave Watchtower News here and take a nap, come back and listen to Jimmy. You don't want to miss his program. So that's good, Jimmy Bell. And then, of course, at 11 o'clock, we've got After the Storm. Have you heard these two gals? Out of Houston, Texas, Gail and her sidekick, DeLon, and they'll be coming on tonight at 11 o'clock After the Storm. And then around 12, we have Apostate. But Apostate's program tonight is only going to be on our radio network. So that's, I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up. Apostate will only be on the radio network. You know, every week that I go through the information here at Six Screens, I go through this information and I try to find what's really buzzing on the internet. And every week we talk about the witnesses that are having problems with sexual perversion. And that's exactly what we have. Another story coming out of Australia, and you might have heard this. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about it, but we have a number of Jehovah's Witnesses that are finding out about this in Australia because of the Australia Royal Commission they're very cognizant in Australia about the perversion that takes place in the Watchtower. Now, there's one man over there, a former Jehovah's Witness. This week we read about him on the news. He is facing 50 sexual assault charges. And he really was a perverted person. And what I extracted from this article that I found of real interest is the very thought that the newspapers over there in Australia, because of the Australia Royal Commission, the newspapers are picking up big time on the fact that, boy, here we go again, Jehovah's Witnesses in the news. Boy, their name is really being tarnished. I'm not going to go into all the details about the 50 people that were molested, many of them Jehovah's Witnesses in the congregation. Next week, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that. It's a story in itself. So we won't go too deep into it, but I just wanted to bring that up. Every week when I'm going through the news, there's always, and you heard me say it last week too. Last week we had 2 cases of sexual child abuse. And now we have a man here. It just wasn't with children. He was raping women in the congregation. So you'll have to hear more about that next week. And the other thing I wanted to talk about here tonight as well is branch donations. Boy, I will tell you, and I always talk about the money situation, but a lot of witnesses are so ticked off. Every week they're going to the meeting, all they're hearing, give me more, give me more, give me more. And actually from England, a man gave me some information that I want to share with you. What do you think congregations, for the most part, sending money to the Watchtower? How much you think? Well, I'll tell you, it's right around $800 on the average here in America. But this fellow that gave me the information is from England, so it's 800 euros. So that's a little bit more. It's probably somewhere around $880, somewhere around there. But still, that's a lot of money on the average. That means that some congregations don't give too much at all, but then there's some that give upwards of $2,000 a month. So, with inflation now taking hold, with people having a hard time even paying their energy bills. Do you know that 20%, I just heard this on the news the other day, 20% of all people in America, I don't know about the rest of the world, but in America, 20% of people cannot pay their electric bills. So they're falling through the cracks with that. And we know Jehovah's Witnesses, for the most part, they live on low incomes. They don't have good jobs. They don't make good money. I'm not beating them up for it, but I mean, they've really been held back from even enjoying a life. The Watchtower has kept them in poverty. And but here's what I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you heard it. I think you might have. I watch the business news. I love the business news in the morning. So they were bringing up there, they had a man come on from the United Kingdom. And pubs are big in the United Kingdom. Like pubs. You go in, you have a cold beer and a sandwich. But there's like 4,600 pubs in the United Kingdom. So they had this man who was like the coordinator. He was like the one that publishes the magazine for the pubs. And he says the pubs in the United Kingdom, so many of them are going out of business. And so they said, well, why are they going out of business? Is it the cost of beer and sandwiches? No, he says it's not that. They're going out of business because of their energy cost, their gas, natural gas. Now, he was saying, and I had a hard time believing it, and I had to go back and rewind it to listen to it again, but it was right what I heard. What's happening right now in the United Kingdom, and they're getting very worried because winter is coming upon them, that people are going to be freezing to death because the natural gas prices are so darn high. I mean, they're in the sky. Now, let me tell you what their gas bills are going to be running. These pubs that are having a hard time keeping the doors open in the United Kingdom, and if you're living in the United Kingdom listening in, you know what I'm talking about. So you've got many of them closing. So they said on the business news that suppose a pub. Now, let me tell you what a little business, what do you think a little business would take in? For the whole year, their electric bill is not electric, I'm sorry, their energy bill for gas is going to cost more than all the money they take in year long. How would you, we're talking some cases hundreds of thousands of dollars. In fact, it's like upwards of 800 times more than we're paying here. Now, we're going to get hit. I live in Boston, and I have to tell you, you know where we get our natural gas here in Boston? You're not going to believe this. We get it from Russia. We get it from Russia. And, you know, Trump didn't like that. The present administration, I'm not going to get into that politics, but the present administration wants us to stay like we are. And my gas bill is already starting to go up. So now we're going to see gas prices, they're saying here is going to be close to double in Boston from what people are paying now. I'm okay. I live in a condo unit here, and it's not that big, so I don't have to worry too much about the heat, and I get a lot of sun that comes in. But if you're living in some old house and you got some kids and you're trying to keep them warm, just imagine your bill is going to be doubled for heating your house. So, you know, there's going to be some issues, but okay, let's get back to what my original thought is here. Branch donations. The Watchtower keeps asking more money, more money. This is all people are talking about on the Kingdom Halls. All they want is more money, and the witnesses are having a hard time paying the food, get by rent and energy costs. So what about these Kingdom Halls? You got these Kingdom Halls donating on the average $800 a month, sending off to the Watchtower. And so now what you've got here is you've got money going out left and right. Pretty soon the bills are going to be coming in, and there's not really going to be enough to pay it. Now, we talked to you just a couple of weeks ago that some Kingdom Halls, they're turning their air conditioning off. It's just too doggone expensive to run the air conditioning, so that they're turning it off. So this is what I'm beginning to see is money. Money might tank more Kingdom Halls than we think, but it might be a plan. It might be a plan by the Watchtower to put some of these Kingdom Halls that are just struggling along, to put them out of business, sell it off. Look at these guys are nefarious. These guys are sinister. They're doing things that really is shameful. So I wanted to bring that up tonight. And a lot of the witnesses, I'm going to tell you, I search all over the internet, these forums and what have you, but I'm going to tell you what so many Jehovah's Witnesses right now are ticked off about. They're learning about the child molestation. They're learning about how much money the Watchtower is paying in lawsuits. They're fed up with it. Yet at the same time, they're cutting a check for $800 a month, and they're saying, we're spending this money to pay off lawsuits. And then here's even the other thing. This man sent me this, and he says that his parents, what they're doing is they're begging the older people that are ready to check out of this system, the older witnesses. In this particular case, he says, my parents just gave the Watchtower $100,000. $100,000 after selling their house. Now, the story doesn't end there. You say, geez, that's a lot of money to give to the Watchtower. He says he gave them, the parents gave $100,000, and he says he's trying to attend college. And he was hoping his parents could have helped him. But all of a sudden, would that tick you off? Would that tick you off? Your mother and father sends $100,000 to the Watchtower organization, who doesn't need the money. They have billions. So the mother and father send off $100,000, and this poor kid, he's worrying about how he's going to go to college. What do you think about that? And that's not the first time I hear of this. It's really not. Many congregations right now, they're going broke. They're going broke, and the Watchtower is looking for new ways to collect money. So some congregations, by the way, they cannot pay $8 per publisher. And, you know, I heard a sad story today, too. Yeah, I really did. In fact, it was concerning a young couple, and they had two little children. And the two little witness kids, they keep hearing the Watchtower every week asking for money. Oh, mommy and daddy, the Watchtower, they need more money. Maybe we can give them our piggy bank money. So the mother and father, they're getting ticked. They're getting ticked to hear this. And the kids were actually sad. They were actually sad because they feel like they have to give the Watchtower money. And they pulled this trick before with that Caleb and Sophia cartoon of little Caleb and Sophia emptying their piggy banks. And they would buy ice cream with that money. but Mommy, we're going to put it in the donation box. How sad is that? That is not only sad. I'm going to tell you something. That's a scam. That is a scam. If the Watchtower, now listen, going even after old people. Is anybody out there a member of AARP? I'm a member, and I'm sure there's a number of people out there. AARP. You know, they have an article, they have magazines they send out every month. And it's always about be careful of scammers. And I always open that first. I'm always hoping to find the Watchtower in there because that's what they're doing. I'd love to write AARP and tell them, put it in there. You're always talking about how people from India and people are posing as IRS agents and everything else. Why don't you put in there about the Watchtower? They're scamming these old people. $100,000. That's a lot of money, friends. That's scammed. They scammed them in the name of religion. What do you think?
Rick?
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Well, I would love to tell you what I think. No, don't ban me from the 6 screens, okay?
Oh, no,
you know,
no.
I love Saturday. What you were just saying about scamming, especially older people, one of the biggest things that they would point out in their warning about scams is that they act like they care about you. They're your friends. They're there to help you. And, you know, isn't that what Watchtower does with their, we're God's true organization. Only we have real love for you. Oh, when you're giving to Jehovah. Jehovah loves a cheerful giver. Well, guess who loves them more? The Watchtower. Thank you, Rick.
Well, Anne Marie, always good to hear from Anne Marie. Well, thank you very much, Anne Marie. You know, it really is. Well, what keeps you awake at night? You ever toss in bed? You can't sleep? I do. But, you know, many times what keeps me awake at night is how evil the Watchtower is. And pulling stunts like that. I'll tell you what, I got a little emotional today when I heard those 2 little witness kids. Mommy and Daddy, should we send them the money from our piggy bank? Oh, the parents, they were upset. They didn't like it. So, I don't know. You guys, I hope you're seeing it. I hope I'm not the only one. I'm not looking through rose-colored glasses, as I always say. But, you know, here's what I'm thinking. It's a game. It definitely is a game. It's a sales game. That the people don't understand it. But, you know, you talk about the largest sales organization in the world. It's not General Motors. It's not Walmart with their associates. The largest sales organization in the world is the Watchtower. How are you going to get 8 million people to go out on their own dime? Really, go out on their own dime, put gas in the car at their own dime, and go out and push your literature, roll their carts around the city, all on their own dime, own time. They don't get paid for it. It costs them money to do it, but yet they all do it. That is a scam and a half. I mean, really, who could, no other business that I know of has ever come to that ability to get people to do that. People don't do things for nothing. They do in the Watchtower. It's a business. It's nothing more than a business. You heard it here before in the 6 screens, masquerading as a religion. Isn't that something? So anyways, people, you want to say, we have a guest wanting to speak up. Go ahead, just come close here and speak right up. Yep. You want to be seen?
Huh?
You want to be seen?
I'll come around.
All right. Well, we got a person. Dick, would you want to get her a chair?
Sure.
We've got a woman here. I'm going to introduce to you. I'll let her introduce herself. So she came all the way out she came 3,000 miles away, and she's here with us tonight. You can see her right now. She's here, and she came 3,000 miles away to come and see the 6 screens live tonight. We're just going to get her a chair in here, and so she'll be able to sit down and be able to talk to you folks. And I'm really flattered to have these people come up. Every once in a while, we get guests coming up to the 6 screens. And here he's got a chair here now. Here you go, Dick. All right.
I just wanted to make a comment.
Well, yeah, you
with what
come right over
said,
here.
huh?
Let's get the seat right here. Thank you. All right, come on right here close, Constance, so people can see you. All right, so let's let the audience know exactly who you are and what's going on in your world, Constance. There you go.
Well, hi, everybody. This is Constance. I'm from Northern California, and this is an absolute dream come true to say hello to everybody. Came out here to visit friends and family, and also, of course, Rick and Susan. I'd like to send my love to some special friends, Anne Marie, John Marciano, Joe Dyer Dario, Marianne Sochek, and Sharon Murray, and everybody else, and Jimmy Bell, of course. I just wanted to say something that's very interesting is, Rick, you're talking about Watchtower scam with regards to the money thing. And Joe Dario, Joe, if you're listening, you might want to sort of chime in. I'm not sure if you're working tonight or not. But he was in the organization for 49 years. And then he had been an elder for, 12 to 13 years. And he said one thing that the organization at some certain point had required of him was to have a legal document and to go to the elderly brothers and sisters in the congregation who were, getting up in years. And it was to basically say, you need to sign this document. It's a legal document that Watchtower had already printed out. And it was designed so that they would, turn over their assets, their homes, jewelry, anything of that nature to the organization. And Joe had felt very, very uncomfortable about that, which I thought was interesting. He's the kind of brother that really has a heart, for others. So that was neat. My very dear friend, Lynn, she was my client and dear friend, just like a family member from the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. And her parents were in for many years. And the father, their home was worth $850,000. And Watchtower was ready to take their property. The father was really ready to donate it. But then the older sister said, no, we as the family, we really need to keep it. So, San Francisco Bay Area is like New York. It's very, very wealthy. And when Watchtower sees that there's a lot of money, they're ready to, fly in like a vulture ready for the kill. So.
Well, Constance, it's so good to have you come up here and be with us. But people know you. I can see they know you. And you're a great caller. You call in every week and people listen to you. And you really made my week. And once in a while we get visitors coming up. But we're so glad that Constance could come up. So she come out from California. And we all love Constance, right? I mean, why couldn't you? She does such a great job. And we're so glad to have a part of the 6 Screens.
Thank you.
Now, we also had, so that's good. So, well, thank you very much, Constance. So there you go. Now we also, did the other visitor want to come on?
Sure.
We had another visitor.
It's a weekend of visitors.
So we got.
It just
Listen,
so happens.
in fact, if you guys are ever up in the Boston area, people want to come here and see what we're doing. So, anyways, we have a man here now. He's a seasoned veteran here at the 6 Screens. Well, you might recognize him. He's done a number of programs, Watchtower Lies, Frauds. He worked as the Marines program that we had on. He's a constant caller. He does a great job. It's Mr. Dick BORGHI. Hello, Dick.
Hello, Rick. How's everybody doing?
Very, very good, Dick. Yes, very good.
To your point about the Watchtower and money, they earned, I don't know if that's the right word, earned, but they sold their property in Brooklyn and they got over $2 billion. Billion, not million, billion. And they're going to be asking for every nickel they can. They'll want a little child to empty your piggy bank, as Rick was saying, and spend their ice cream money to send it to the Watchtower. And if you're sick, the thing that they care about the most is money, and after that, perversion.
Well, that's right, Dick. Now, you came up from North Carolina.
North Carolina.
So we had someone come up from California.
What a coincidence.
North Carolina. Yeah, big coincidence. So hey, I'll tell you what, this was the week of weeks. But I want to let you know, if anybody out there is ever up in the Boston area and you'd like to come up and be in our program, be my guest. Write me at jwworldnews@gmail.com and come on up and we can all talk about what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. So I think it's only a matter of time, Dick, and you're going to be back on with us.
I think so.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We're always looking forward to it. You're a good man.
Well, thank you so much.
Don't you ever change. There he is. Well, that's Dick BORGHI. Now you all love Dick. And Constance. You can leave that chair right there. It's fine. Yeah, leave it right there. It's good. Well, anyways, isn't it nice? Isn't it nice? Now, I have not met most of the people on the 6 screens. We're so glad, though, that you guys could come up here and be with us. But I have so many friends, but they're all like 6 screens friends. I never get to meet them. I knew Dick, of course, he was from this area. But to be able to see Dick and Constance here in real life, in person, is really, really amazing. But I want to thank them for coming up. So what do you think, friends? What's going on in your world? I think we do have some people on the line. Go ahead. You want to say something? Do we have someone on there?
Hi, this is Apostate Babe.
Hi, Linda.
It is good to hear from both of you. Wow, you guys are visiting Rick today. How exciting. Wow.
Well, they're laughing. They think it's funny, but no, they.
It is funny.
Yeah. So they're here. So they called me last week, and
I'm in the suite. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm in the suite, and they're saying that they're not hearing you.
They're not hearing.
And that there's only one screen. And there's only one screen. So I mean, these guys are our top-notch people. We've got to be able to hear them in the suite.
Yeah. Now
right?
I don't know why not, but the suite evidently did go off, but it's back on now. They probably want to. Okay, so they probably want to thank you, Apostate Babe, for telling me that. I don't know why that went out.
But
Yeah.
It's very exciting that you guys are there.
Well, why don't you just come over again so they can see you in the suite? Let's bring them back here. So the people on the suite wanted to see Dick and Constance. So here they go.
Crazy.
Here we are. Hey,
I love
Linda.
So yeah. So why don't you guys? In fact, you want to get in the seat, Dick, and just you're good. Okay. So anyways, why don't you come over a little bit? The people want to see you over there. Just come to it. There you go. That's Dick. There's Dick and Constance.
Yeah.
There you go. So for the suite, here they are.
There we are.
I'll let you go so others can call in. Okay.
Thank you. Well, there they are. So you can see them now in the suite.
Yeah.
So there they are. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. So, anyways, Watchtower keeps asking for more and more money. And like Constance was just saying, her friend, they were trying to bilk her out of some money as well. And I want to thank Apostate Babe. I didn't realize the suite went out. Did not realize the suite went out. But it's back in there now. But thank you. Now, any time like that, you call me up. I got 6 computers going here. And I can't see it all at once. I'm trying to walk and chew gum at the same time. Plus, I get some visitors too. So that was a surprise. I didn't think they were going to come on. I didn't try to coax them or anything, but they came on. Well, let's see what else is going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, we got a lot going on, right? Well, let's take a look and see. I'm just going to go back to my battery here is running low. So hold on 1 second before this goes out. You just got to give me 1 second. And I just got to, let's see, why is this going out on me? And, okay. Yeah, our battery is going out, so I do have to get it turned back on. Okay, here it is right here. Because if I lose this, the whole system goes down. So I'm glad I caught it in time. There it is. Or everything would have went down. I would have looked like a crazy man. But it's good now. We should be all set. So let's move on. Let's move on and see what else we got here tonight. We got another 40 minutes or so to go before Jimmy Bell comes on. Now let's just talk about this as well. Well, I'm not going to get too deep into it. I could talk about Watchtower donations all night long, right? And we could never really stop. But what I really wanted to get to tonight, I wanted to make this is the main story. But what you guys probably notice when we do news here on the 6 screens, usually normal news stations, they always give you the top story first. We kind of do it backwards. I usually save the top story for last. You say, well, why does he do that? Well, because I want as many people as possible. And remember now, we're 3 hours behind. We're on the East Coast, so right now it's 8:20. So that means it's only 5:20 in, say, the West Coast. So I like to get the West Coast listeners to be able to come in as well. So we always kind of save the best story for last. But that's okay. We have to do it a little bit different. But here's what I came across, and I know the reason for it. I'm going to give you my thoughts, and then I want to get your thoughts. But they now have a secret. We got this from Atlantis. He is the secret watchtower. He's in there somewhere, Warwick, Wallkill, wherever he is. But he is sending information to me and others. There's some others that get it too. But he sent me some information here concerning a new secret watchtower publication for elders. It's like their manual. I suppose they might even use this now as the new shepherding manual, but it doesn't say that. It's more or less a whole book, you could say, basically on Watchtower disfellowshipping, because they're calling it the Watchtower Disfellowshipping Reference Manual. Now, how many pages you think it would be? How many pages would it take to talk about disfellowshipping in the organization? You want to take a guess? 100 pages? 150? 200? What do you think? Are you ready? 837 pages. 837 pages. Now, the information, I couldn't go through all 837 pages, but it looked like a good part of the book was dealing with this fellowshipping and what happens when people leave the Watchtower, and really somehow got to get the elders to know about it. But I'm sure there's other stuff in there too. But they really did focus big time on people who don't want to be Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. And this basically was released because of what's going on in Norway. Now, it was meant, this publication, by the way, witnesses don't have any clue, but there's elders listening into this program tonight. They do have a clue. They know what I'm talking about. But the average rank and file witness, they got no clue to this new reference manual on disfellowshipping, what it even is. And it was meant to be kept secret. Yes, the Watchtower didn't want it to get on the 6 screens. I mean, why would they want that? But it's here. Now, I know the reason why they're doing this. I tell you all the time in the last couple of years, it's not just us apostates that are picking on the Watchtower. It's now governments. Belgium. Yes, Belgium. Sweden. Yes. United Kingdom. Australia. Russia. Norway. Well, what's going on in Norway? Norway does not like the Jehovah's Witnesses way of doing business. They're ticked off at the witnesses. They're ready to pull their charity status. They don't like the Jehovah's Witnesses in Norway. It's not the only place, like I said. But the reason why they're ticked off in Norway, and I think you'd be ticked off too. Do you like to see 15 and 16-year-old kids who are witnesses kicked out on the street? Do you think that's fair to do to a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid with nowhere to go because he doesn't want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses? The parents give him the boot. Okay, Sonny. Even women, even girls, young girls, hit the street. What do you think is going to happen? You think these kids are going to land up in trouble? Of course they are. They have no money. What are they going to do? Some of them are going to go into prostitution. Others probably selling drugs, whatever it would take. So, but the parents don't care. Parents don't care at all. So Norway cares. Norway cares. They don't like it. So they're threatening the Watchtower big time. And, it's been going up and down. Some weeks you hear that, well, the Watchtower is going to get some slack cut to them. Then other weeks you read. So now I read this, and actually Norway is picking up on what's going on in the world of the witnesses, as I say. But now with the witnesses, they're telling authorities. The officials of the Watchtower are telling the authorities lies. They're sugarcoating it. They're telling them, well, you guys are exaggerating. When people are disfellowshipped or leave the Watchtower, we don't do this to people. You guys are making this up. This is basically what they're telling Norway. Norway's not buying it. They say, for example, that if you are a Jehovah's Witness, and they told Norway this, if you're one of Jehovah's Witnesses, because the government of Norway wanted to know, well, what would happen if you were married, you were a couple married, husband and wife, and so the husband doesn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore. The country of Norway wanted to know what would happen. Would the marriage be dissolved? Would the marriage have a divorce? What would happen? And they said, well, the Watchtower said, no, it's not a problem. Normal family relations go on. I have a man sitting here tonight, Dick BORGHI. He was disfellowshipped. He's been on the program numerous times. He was disfellowshipped. Dick, do normal family relations go on when you were disfellowshipped?
They die and they
Come over here and come over here and tell people. Would you just come over here? I have a man here. He didn't know I was going to bring him on this particular story, but I got thinking when we're talking. The Watchtower is telling the country of Norway that, if you're disfellowshipped and your wife or your husband isn't, there's no problem, Norway. The family relations go on. There's no big deal. Dick, tell us.
It's a bold-faced lie. They die and they die hard. My sister was a Jehovah's Witness. My two sons were Jehovah's Witnesses, and my former wife was a Jehovah's Witness. The only contact I had with my former wife was she told me about what was happening with the boys' lives till I got to be 18, and then it was cut off completely. My sister has not talked to me, even though our father had died. I was at the funeral. She wouldn't talk to me. That's the Jehovah's Witness way. Once you're disfellowshipped, nobody can talk to you, period.
Let's just go back
Okay.
to your first marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And then I knew your former wife
Mm-hmm.
up here in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's just go back when you got disfellowshipped. You got disfellowshipped. Now, did your way of doing business with your wife continue on? Did the family all kind of hang around and nothing ever happened? Tell us what happened.
Absolutely nothing. Really, no conversations unless it was something major. One time, my youngest boy got hit over the head. Actually, my oldest boy got hit over the head with a hockey stick, and he got a lot of stitches and went to the hospital. Then I got a phone call, but that was 2 days after the event. So they really don't contact you at all unless they want money or they want some repair done in the house. Then they'll talk to you. But other than that, they don't.
Dick, what remains in my mind, and I know you told the story a number of times, what remains in my mind in the Dick BORGHI story, and this really touches me too. Now, you're married, you have 2 kids, you want to get back into you want to be reinstated at the time. So you wanted to go back in and be reinstated. They said, we keep coming to the meetings, Dick, and that's what would happen. Well, you went for 2 years, it never happened. But what I do remember you talking about that really touched me, did you sit with your wife in the Kingdom Hall?
Nope. They sat up front with the 2 boys, and I had to sit in the back. That's how that was. And the reason they were never going to reinstate me, kind of simple. I gave a traveling overseer a hard time when they wanted to know if the other elders and servants in the congregation were willing to disfellowship somebody for being overweight. They said being overweight was injurious to your health, as is smoking. So if they could disfellowship someone for smoking, they could disfellowship someone for being overweight. I stood up, which surprised myself that I even did that. And I said to the traveling overseer, I said, whatever happened to Jehovah's Holy Spirit telling the anointed remnant, then the anointed remnant telling the governing body what to do? I said, how come we're voting on somebody's everlasting life? And it kind of stunned him. It kind of surprised me that I even said that, because I used to sit in the back and kind of quiet. I hadn't been a servant that many years. And then subsequent to that, I stood up while I was still standing up, and I said, that sounds like the Gestapo, with the master race. So isn't that kind of the master race type of stuff? Everybody has to be beautiful, slender, muscular. The females have to have a nice figure, but that's not real life. And it's certainly unkind to disfellowship somebody for being overweight.
So just so people don't get confused, because
Sure.
you got the two stories together here.
Mhm.
I mean, Dick was not disfellowship of being an overweight. As long as I've known Dick, he's been in pretty good shape. But this is another issue.
Right.
You were disfellowship. They didn't talk to your family. They sat in the front. You sat in the back. That went on for a couple of years.
Mhm.
Friends, I would love to buy a ticket and send Dick over to Norway, because he should tell his story, because, people are not hearing it. People are not hearing it. And now Norway, though, they got their ears open. So thank you, Dick.
Yep.
Thank you for coming. Okay, well, there you go. So if you can, what to watch. Yes, go ahead. You're with us. Did someone want to say hello to Dick? Go ahead. You're with us. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey Dick.
Yes.
Sorry to chime in again. This is Gilbert. I remember years back I had an awake hotline, and I had my phone number published. It's called the Awake Hotline. And I remember one time a gentleman from Spain called me because he was investigating the Australian Royal Commission, and he just woke up. He learned the truth about the truth, and then his wife, and it was because his Jehovah's Witness wife said, "What is this?" So here's this man is investigating on behalf of his wife, and she doesn't want to leave the Jehovah's Witnesses, and he does at the end. And now he's like, Gilbert, she's going to divorce me because I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness. And I've gotten so many phone calls like this. I mean, it was a very taxing thing to have a hotline. I would get phone calls from all over. But Eric, JW Struggle, we all love him. He has a similar story. Joel the Unwitnessed has a similar story, and the Faithful Slave. There's so many people that have the exact same story of what Norway is asking. So this thing about when Watchtower says no family relations stay the same, that we have testimony on YouTube of all of these men whose wives committed spiritual adultery because they prefer to be with the Jehovah's Witness governing body than they did with their husband. And poor Jehovah, if you're a Jehovah's Witness woman and you're listening, you need to repent, because you are going to listen to a group of unknown men and you will not stay and be faithful with your husband. This is spiritual adultery, and the country of Norway is 100% correct. And I pray for you men that have to endure this. I've suffered from this as well, and God help those individuals that go through this. But Watchtower, yeah, I hope Norway gives them what they deserve. That's all I have, guys.
Oh, thank you, Gil.
Well, Gilbert, yes, indeed. Well, that was a good comment, too, to follow up on that. And yes, Norway should give them what they deserve. They're lying to them. They're scamming them. And I hope that Norway really does give it to them. But that manual, 837 pages, that is a thick, thick publication. And, the witnesses, what they're doing is they're looking for every loophole they can, every excuse in Norway. And I'm going to tell you, just, I've got a few excerpts from this manual that I pulled out that I found kind of fascinating. The organization is really misrepresenting the real truth and what happens when a person is disfellowship. They are misrepresenting the facts. They're twisting the facts to whatever narrative they can push for the moment. Yeah, they'll change and they'll lie, and they'll tell Norway that no, people have this all wrong. But what does happen is the Watchtower, the excuse that it was not even an excuse. They're telling the country of Norway, well, you got it wrong. We don't tell people to treat disfellowship ones like this. They say individual congregants, individual publishers, they will actually let them decide what they want to do with people that are disfellowship. Now, they say that should be based on personal religious conscience, whether to limit or cease their contact with a person. But don't we all know there's a wide conspiracy that happens in the Watchtower? It's just a known fact. When your name is read from the platform and Rick Fearon, Gilbert Gonzalez, Dick BORGHI, whoever the person would be, does no longer want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, we know darn well that sends a message out, right? It does. It sends a message out, and that message automatically tells everybody to stop talking. That person who just fellowship that night, he's going to leave the Kingdom Hall. No one's going to talk to him. It's going to happen instantaneous. As soon as the hammer comes down, Dick BORGHI no longer wants to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. That's it. You're done. Nobody is going to talk to you again. But they're saying here, this is based on one's personal religious conscience. Whether to limit or cease their contact with that person is up to their conscience. That is a lie. Doesn't that tick you off?
Hey, Rick,
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah.
If you talk to a disfellowship person and you're in good standing with the congregation, you'll be disfellowshipped or can be disfellowshipped for even talking to a disfellowship person.
Right. So Dick commented here, he's in the side of the room, but I don't know if you can hear him, but he's absolutely right. So the congregation, now that carries this even a little notch further, because, okay, so the person isn't going to have anyone talk to him. And there's people that would like to. Wouldn't you like to be able to go up to a person if you were a staunch, loyal witness and say, gee, Brother BORGHI, I'm sad that this had to happen, but we're here and we're going to help you. They're scared to death to ever say anything like that, because if they talk to BORGHI, I'm using him as an example, sorry here, but if they talk to the person who's disfellowship, they themselves, and I'll tell you what, they would be brought in the back room that night if they talked to the disfellowship person. So this idea based on their personal conscience is a bunch of baloney. And the Watchtower does exactly the opposite of what they say. They're liars. They are liars. And in fact, I got a hold of this article here in the April magazine. It's a Watchtower study article, April 2022. So that's a few months back. And they're teaching the witnesses on that. I'm sorry I missed it back then, but I did. But they're teaching the witnesses how to lie. Now, this is not something that the Watchtower never does. Their people are being trained on how to lie. Now, they actually and we talked about it before, you guys know it, I'm preaching to the choir, but they have a strategy. It's called war strategy, where they actually will deliberately lie to a person. And it's on the basis of if a person doesn't have to have the real truth, well, you can not tell them the truth. In other words, that's their position on that. If you tell something to a person that could harm Jehovah, or bring reproach upon Jehovah, then you can lie. You can actually lie. Theocratic, yeah, go ahead. Theocratic strategy. Go ahead, you're on with us. Is it Pastor Babe? Yeah, let's go to Pastor Babe, then we get Susan. Go ahead. I guess it wasn't a Pastor Babe, but Susan, will go with you first. Go ahead.
Oh,
All right.
go ahead.
Well, we got three.
I just want to say I heard the governing body member, I forget who, said that we tell the truth to those who deserve to hear the truth. That was their cover for the quote-unquote theocratic warfare, a.k.a. lying. Thank you, Rick.
Oh, that's good. Oh, we got Susan. Go ahead, Susan. All right, we did have Susan. We lost Susan.
Hi, this is Fran and Joe.
Hello, Fran. Hello, Fran and Joe. Good to hear from you tonight.
Just a little bit. We're not disfellowshipped and we did not disassociate, but we have had, our family has not talked to us. We had a text from a very close friend of ours, a sister, and she said, hi, I have a question. Is it true you and Joe are no longer going out in service or to the meetings? I had to hear it from you. And we responded, it's sad that we really can't talk freely. And so then she said, do you mean talk about what you have been watching, and we did not respond. And then we had someone who's studying the Bible say, I heard you did not want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses anymore. She said, I hope we can still be friends. And I said, where did you hear that from? And she gave me the sister's name. And then I didn't say, I just went on and I said, yes, we'll always be friends, because this is the person that I originally had called on the phone, and now she's studying. And we kind of developed a relationship. So we're not even disfellowship. We didn't disassociate, and they're still shunning us. Yeah, it's a matter of faith for them. It's their faith.
Well, there you go, Fran. And so, everything Watchtower is doing, even in this manual, they're just lying. I mean, never mind. Norway has no idea. They're finding out about when one's disfellowshipped and one's disassociated, but they have no idea, if you're not even officially that the witnesses won't talk to you. That's how bad it is. Okay, we got somebody else on. We got a number of people calling in tonight, so let's all remember to keep those phones muted because we're getting a lot of background noise. But if you'd like to come in, who's next? Who wants to speak up? You're with us. Go ahead.
I just want to thank Fran and her husband for coming on. Fran, you are a joy. Thank you so much for having the courage to speak up publicly and tell the truth about this evil, wicked, unloving, judgmental Gestapo organization, and how witnesses who have been loyal for years are really treated when they start to learn the truth about the truth. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Anne-Marie. Do we have Susan? Did you want to go? I see you're in the green zone here. I did hear you a little earlier, but don't you worry. If not, but we do have others. Well, looks like we have Iowa. Did Iowa want to say something? Iowa's in the green zone. But if not, don't you worry about it. But the Watchtower will do whatever they have to do what they have to do. That's what happens. Now, this manual, can you imagine a manual? And well, before we move to that, we have Fayetteville, North Carolina. Did you want to come in, Fayetteville?
Hi, Rick. It's Sharon. How you doing?
Well, Sharon, doing good. Doing good.
Hey, Rich. Hey, Connie.
Hi, Sharon.
I just wanted to say, with this big manual that they got, it's almost like we're all at war, and that they're doing preemptive strikes against those that leave, so that those that are still in can't talk to them, because the first thing you do when you find out what they're really all about is you want to tell your loved ones and your friends. So they put the wall up immediately so that you're not able to.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right, Sharon. And you talk about, 837 pages. The mere size of this volume is very telling when you stop and think about it. And they devote all of the pages to show how to get rid of someone. But many of the pages, well, they're kind of devoting some time to how to behave yourself in the shepherding work. So they are doing everything they can to really kind of weasel out of this idea of people are hurt, people commit suicide. They don't want to, they're trying to tell the governments and even the people of the world something different, and something that's a lie. Sharon, it's always good to hear from you.
We have to remember that everybody that isn't a JW, they view them as not deserving of the facts. That's how they look at it.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you go to JW Facts, that's in their quotes, that if they don't deserve the truth, then you use theocratic warfare. But I'm sorry, a rose by any other name is rose. A lie by any other name is still a lie.
Yes. Well, I always love to hear from Sharon. I always love your New York accent. And I was hoping one of these days maybe we could get a little of that lasagna too. They're still talking about it.
And lasagna, my chicken lasagna.
Oh, they're still talking about it. That's the first thing they said. The first thing out of the mouth. Man, we had delicious lasagnas at Sharon's. Thank you, Sharon, and thank you for being so.
Oh, you're welcome.
And thank you for being so nice to them.
The extra 10 pounds.
Yeah, you're a wonderful woman. So there you go. You got a whole brand new book. Can you believe it? Is the Watchtower really this great religious organization? I tell you what, why would you want to clamp down, especially now, on disfellowshipping and really doing this to people? Don't you think people have enough on their plate? Don't you really think people have enough between the current world events, between the world going mad, people getting hit with clubs, people stealing stuff out of drugstores and the Home Depot? Don't you think people have enough to worry about? Don't you think the Watchtower would take that into consideration? Do they care about you? At the end of every broadcast out of Warwick, they always come on and say, "This is the governing body reporting from Warwick, New York, and we want all of our brothers to know that we love you." Do they love you? Does the governing body really love you? Absolutely not. They love your money. They love your money, but they don't love you. So, is it accurate? Is it really accurate on the part of the Jehovah's Witnesses to tell the Norwegian government that, no, you can speak to, ones that have been, disfellowship, but, it's only some don't because they feel it's their own personal conscience. That I don't believe at all. Well, friends, I have to tell you something. It's so amazing as I go through the news every week and I see exactly what's going on behind the curtains. What about you guys? Is there anybody out there in this listening audience tonight? And we got a lot of people coming in. I want to say that. We got a lot of people on our radio network. We got a bunch of people on our 6 Screens video suite and YouTube and Facebook. But I just want to, in fact, we're on 8 different platforms. I'm only mentioning a few, but we're on 8. We're in Facebook groups. You ever get on Facebook and look up ex-Jehovah's Witnesses?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead. Who's this?
This is Joe. How are you, Rick?
I'm Joe. I'm doing good.
Good. Really quick. What I find interesting is that the Watchtower seems to follow like a world government agenda. And that's this. What I noticed as soon as the Enjoy Life brochure came out, the graphics on there shows an individual. It looked like a young man, single young man, walking into the future or something like that. A single young man. Now I wondered, where's the family? And generally, I mean, we grew up in the truth where it was all family oriented. Families were the strength of the congregation. So now I see this brochure in the cover, and it shows a single young man. I said, what is going on here? Then you come to realize that really the thrust of any of the world governments and the agenda is to encourage individual loyalty and obedience to authority. They don't want families because families provide a structure of support and strength for an individual to oppose. Well, they don't want that. So they're going to do everything and anything they can to break up families. And they are. And it's working. So I mean, we shouldn't be surprised if the shunning and family breakups is so unusual. They're just fitting along to a world government type of agenda. It's so glaringly obvious.
Well, with you guys being shunned already and not even being disfellowshipped, I mean, that's proof in the pudding right there. Right there. Well, Joe, so glad. So it's not getting any better for you, huh?
No. Well, no, and not in regards to the way the family relates to us. As far as us, having other supports around us, we have massive support. People are wonderful. The family is lost in their own little theocratic world. They really are. And at some point, maybe some of them will be awakened. Maybe. In the meantime, we continue to express nice things to them.
Oh, the other night, our son called. He said, I have an emergency. I said, oh, what is it? He says, well, my phone. He said,
I had to get a new phone, and I need the information for the phone. So the always says emergency, and that's the only time we've heard from him.
And then I've got to say too, that they will look for opportunities for exceptions. They will look for opportunities. Because honestly, I really don't think they want to blow their family up. But I think they're doing it out of fear. Fear and, of rejection from their other people. And so, they're in this terrible conflict situation. They really are. And the society is they're so diabolically skilled and hateful what they do. They really are. But it's up to us to warn others as we can. It really is.
Well, what struck my fancy here, Joe, as you were speaking, is you mentioned you're getting support from certain ones. You don't have to name names, but are these like ex-witnesses or?
No, not at all. They're fleshly family members.
No, and they're not. Were they involved with the Watchtower? No.
No, never.
All right.
Never. I'm telling you, I'm so frustrated now and anxious because what we want to do, we want to connect with ex-JWs and faders. We want badly to connect with them. But at this point, we're being careful because then that would only make things, that would accelerate any kind of breakup between us and the rest of the family.
And I must admit, I was connected with a sister. She's a PIMO now. Celeste, if you're listening, we love you very much. You've been such a good support. And Barbara, if you're listening, they really have been very supportive of us.
That's right.
Well, that's awful nice of you.
But we would like to, we do want to connect with locals, local witnesses, exes. And right now, we're not doing that. We're trying to come up with a plan to be able to connect with them so as not to expose them or us, which I think is going to be quite a trick. But we're going slow with that.
Well, they're out there. And like I always say, if there's not many right now, there will be. And, yeah. I said here on the program, and I said it here for the last year, I made the statement that witnesses are leaving the organization in droves. But evidently it was a witness that wrote me and said, Rick, I was listening to that program. The Jehovah's Witnesses are not leaving in droves. I have to disagree. First of all, what about all these Kingdom Halls being sold off? Well, what about all of the people I see coming into the 6 screens? What about all of the people I see on this forum online called Reddit? But think about it. And not only that, so I looked up the word droves in the dictionary because, I hear the term a lot and I say, what is the actual definition of droves? It doesn't mean millions. But basically what it means is if there's a herd of cattle, you'll get some that kind of move out of the herd. Well, that's exactly what's going on with the witnesses. But I'm going to even up the ante. I'm going to up the ante here tonight. I'm calling the mass exodus. I'm telling you right now, I believe these 2 years, the last couple of years, time will only tell. But the last time, back in 1975, when 75 came and didn't happen for Armageddon, 125,000 people left the Jehovah's Witness religion. That was one of the biggest influxes. So some have put the number close to 200,000. But I know for a fact it was at least 125,000. It could be that high, but I know for a fact 125,000. But right now, when it's all said and done, and I would be willing to say that in the last year, 2 years since COVID, I would be willing to say there's upwards of 300,000 that have left the organization. And I mean that. I really do. You're on with us. We're going to finish up the program here. We got about 5 or 6 minutes. But if you'd like to say something, now's your chance. Go ahead. You want to come on and say something? You heard from Fran. You heard from Joe. We'd love to hear from you. And I see there's people still here in the green zone, but that's okay. That's okay. But I want to let you guys all know there'll be no Sunday program tomorrow. It's not our Sunday that we have our programming. But, we invite you all to come into our Sunday programs. We do it every other Sunday. And on Sunday, what we do is we talk about the theological position and the false teachings of the Watchtower. We don't do it on Saturday night. People don't want to hear it on Saturday night. You don't want to hear it. What you want to hear here on Saturday night is you want to hear the evil. There's a lot of people sitting out there tonight, and I know there is, because when I left the Watchtower, I wasn't really sure whether I was doing the right thing. I really didn't. I mean, after being in it for 50 years, your brain is kind of programmed to go along with everything. But, it's an awkward feeling. And I know there's witnesses listening to this program tonight, and you're saying, geez, I don't know if it's the right thing or not. But I'll tell you what really strengthened my position on leaving the Watchtower. It was when I heard other people like Randy Waters, Barbara Anderson, Mark Paulo, and so many other people that reinforced, at least to me, that, hey, these people, they're not bad people. They must see something. So maybe you're seeing that too. So by all means, if you're looking to make your exit strategy, if you didn't listen to Roland in Chad's program tonight, you can check it out on YouTube. Go to Rick Fearon's 6 Screens, and you can listen to it on YouTube. They have a strategy. But friends, I want to tell you, I'm really impressed with the amount of people that are coming into the 6 Screens here in the last couple of, well, actually about the last 3 or 4 months. And I want you all to know too that we're not the only ones exposing the Watchtower. We have a very unique community, though. It's a very unique community. We're one of the only ones, if not the only one, that does what we do here, live streaming, where people can speak in real time. Now, I notice we're on YouTube right now. There's a whole lot of people in there, and they're chatting, and that's in real time. Now, what happens, this is streaming YouTube. Now, what will happen when we end the program tonight, YouTube takes what we just did here and they upload it so it can be on our channel. Now, that's amazing they do it. Sometimes they do it the same night. Sometimes it takes a day or so. So if you're looking for some of these programs after they end, they might not be up that night. But it takes sometimes a couple of days. But most of them by the next day, by Sunday morning, are up. Now, another thing, too, if you like to listen to podcasts and you say, I'm a podcast person, well, go to Rick Fearon's SoundCloud and just look Rick Fearon's SoundCloud up, and you can get in there and listen to The Cows Come Home. There's thousands and thousands of calls. We've been doing it for 16 years, and you can listen in. Did someone want to say something? I see some lines open. I get some dogs barking. So did someone?
Yes, how you doing? Can I
go
make
ahead,
a comment?
Sure, go ahead.
Yes, how you doing?
Good.
All right, my name is Christopher. I grew up at JW. The program was great tonight. This is one thing I like to add to you, Mr. Fearon. The JW organization as a whole, the reason you see so much mass exit from out of those guys is really this one thing. Programs like yours and the fellow members whom they deem as apostates. See, here's the thing, Mr. Fearon. They are afraid of the rhetoric that we talk, and it expose our family members to and other current members to. But here's the thing to think about. If Babylon the Great, a false religion, is so devious and so divisive, and if you leave the society and what they say in less than 6 months, you'll fall into spiritual darkness. Now, here's what the darkness is. You're coming out of darkness, but you're coming to light. They are more afraid of the apostate, who they deem apostate, teachings or readjustments in their teaching and learning, and then Babylon the Great, a false religion, which it should be the opposite, because they'll take a pamphlet sometimes from another person, from another religion, and of course they don't read it, but they will not take a pamphlet or information from people whom they deem apostates. But they fear that, like I said, more than a person who's a Catholic minister or a bishop. If I tried to talk to them, and their material is always aimed at Babylon the Great, but their eye is on the apostate in the ex-JW community.
Wow, Christopher, you said a mouthful there, but you're absolutely true. You know, in fact, you got me thinking when I was in service once and I knocked on a Christian's door and I said, I have a brochure for you. Could you take it? She said, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I'll take your literature if you take mine. Now, the Watchtower, as you just said, they didn't want you taking other people's literature. So I says, well, fine. I didn't bother my conscience. I says, okay, fine. So I took hers, she took mine. But why wouldn't you? I mean, isn't that fair?
Yeah.
Isn't that the way you go through life? But the Watchtower have this elite attitude that I'm not taking yours. I'm going to shove mine down your throat, you know? Christopher,
But
you're a
here's
good
another
man.
thing. All right, thank you. I'd like to add one more thing, Mr.
Yeah,
Fearon.
go ahead. You got about a half a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, the JWs have a wordplay rhetoric and a wordplay game, and we know that. And this is the thing that you have to start telling your family members. If you ask any JW, and I tell them, I say, I'm gonna ask you a definition like you looked up droves. I said, what does apostate mean? Oh, they say one that talks against the organization or anti JW teachings and standards. I say, no, you're wrong. I said, an apostate is anybody who leaves one political party and goes to another, or goes from one religion to another. So when you go to the doors and you proselytize to that person and you switch them from a Baptist or a Mormon to a JW, they're an apostate to their former religion. But they take the word and they think that they're the only one that uses it, which they are in a broader sense. But an apostate to them is anybody who's against that society. Most of them have never even looked up Webster's version of the definition. They go from what's pre-programmed and regurgitated to them, and in turn, they regurgitate it.
Well, thank you, Christopher. Thank you very much. Now, don't you be a stranger. Come back and see us, okay?
I will, buddy.
I wish we had some more time to keep you on. I'd love to hear from you. All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to be moving now, folks. Well, we're going to end it there. Yes, we don't have too much time. Who's this? Who's this?
Thomas Hodgson, Lawrence.
Go ahead, Thomas. You got about 20 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay. All I wanted to say, I work around two JWs, and I haven't had association for over 20 years. They started working out there, husband, wife. Oh, it's been 2 years for her and maybe about 8 months for him or 6, something like that. Well, it's the darndest thing you ever seen, Rick. I mean, he could be stacking boxes on a skid, and he'll actually stop until I get by, so he don't have to walk real close to me. One time he was walking in front of me, and I was a little close to him. I guess he started walking faster. I mean, I wrote down all these things, what they do. It's just, it don't really bother me that really per se, but it's just unbelievable the extent they go to shun somebody. And one time he was talking to a friend of mine, the JW was, and I come up by this machine. I was probably 6, 7 foot from him, and he said, "Well, let's talk over here." So he moved about 10 feet away, so he wouldn't have to talk next to me. It's just unbelievable how downright rude and evil. I mean, it's just unbelievable how, to the extent they go to shun somebody. I just wanted to mention that real quick.
Well, thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you very much. I wish we had more time. I'd love to accommodate more of your thoughts on that, but thank you very much for calling in. And I want to thank everyone for dialing in tonight to the 6 screens of the Watchtower. Now we've got Jimmy Bell coming up from North Carolina. He's got his crew on there with him. We're going to be dropping off of this broadcast. We're going to be going with Jimmy Bell here coming up very, very shortly. So we'll be getting him in. You will hear us getting it all up. Now, if you're on YouTube and you're on Facebook, well, what you want to do is just come back in about 2 or 3 minutes and we'll be back. I want to thank all the people for commenting on the 6 Screens video suite on Facebook and even here in YouTube. Well, my thoughts are this. I want you guys to keep standing tall. I don't want you to ever give in, up, or out. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower. Please turn off the new light. We're going to Jimmy Bell. Thank you all for coming in.